Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about everyday Joe. Joe wants to save some money and set himself up for a better future. Now, Joe doesn't remember learning much about finances in high school. He doesn't remember learning about finances with his parents and his family. He wasn't able to learn much in college. He doesn't remember too much of college, actually. Everyday Joe is trying to save more money, but he needs some help. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the psychology of money, common pitfalls of saving money, and if you stick around to the end of the video, you can find what can make or break your dreams. Kind of like that one pot I was walking by today, kind of brushed against it and broken, lots of pieces, can't fix it. Let's keep that from happening to Joe. So Joe's a 21-year-old guy. He's jumping into this world, trying to figure out this adulting thing, how to save money. And the first big problem that he's gonna run into is he doesn't know what he doesn't know. I know that sounds a little funny, but when you're first starting out in the financial world, there's a lot of questions you don't even know to ask. For example, things I didn't know that cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. My health insurance, I had to pay a $5,000 deductible per year for 5 years, only to figure out that I could have gotten a really cheap plan that would have costed me a couple $100 and I would have saved about $25,000. And very often finances are like this. A lot of things that we don't know can really hurt us in the future. A lot of things that Joe may not understand right now can really come and bite him in the butt later on. So the first problem that we meet is the lack of knowledge. So Joe is in need of some expert financial advice. Good thing today's show is sponsored by you guys hitting that financial expert like button. Now, as Joe gets into the workplace, his income starts out pretty low, but as he starts to make more money, he starts to have a little bit more choices with what he can do with that money. And with those choices, the lack of knowledge, things that he doesn't know to ask, that's what really starts showing up. So I'm glad that today we have you guys as our financial experts. So hit that financial expert like button down below. That way this video can go out to more Joes so they don't get stuck. If I was talking to Joe today, I would tell him the first thing that you should do, Joe, is get some very basic financial education. One amazing book I always recommend to everybody is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. You don't even have to buy the book. Go online, read his blog, the stock series. I'll put a link down below. Let's talk to Joe about the very basics of financing. So anytime he's going to sign up for a loan, it's very important to find out what are the terms for him signing his name on any kind of financial loan or obligation. I had a friend, for example, he co-signed with his parents for their home because their home was a little bit too much out of their price range. And what ended up happening is he could not buy a home for about 8 years himself, partly because of his name was attached to somebody else's loan, and he couldn't buy a house until his name got separated from the loan that he was attached to. He didn't know this, but when I asked the question, well, did he read about the document he was signing? He didn't. Did he try and find out what it means to co-sign for somebody else's house? No, he didn't find any of those things out. So it's not his fault, but at the same time, it would have been a great thing for him to try and at least watch 5-10 minute video on what does it mean to co-sign a loan. Or common pitfalls of buying a car. What are basic ways that you can save money buying a car? Those simple financial examples that we aren't taught, they can save you thousands of dollars. So learn what you don't know. Start asking questions from the finance community. Go on some blogs, you'll learn a ton of useful stuff. So now let's say Joe has a basic understanding of how the financial system works, what it means when you sign for a loan, what you can expect when you're paying back those obligations that he signs up for. What's the next step that he's gonna run into? The second big idea is the psychology of saving and investing money. So our biggest enemy oftentimes is not the market. Our biggest enemy is not our neighbors or even the system or our car breaking down. A lot of times our biggest enemy is the way that our mind can sabotage what we know we should be doing. Here's the basic truth that everybody knows. We need to learn how to save like a crazy person. We need to learn how to increase our income to be able to have more money. And the last thing is we need to know where to invest the difference and how to do it consistently without losing money doing some crazy degenerate gambling. This sounds easy. Everybody should be able to do it. But the reason why not everybody's doing it is because it's a lot harder. Our mind sabotages us very often. Our own psychology messes up our plan for success. So let's talk about that a little bit. The first part of the psychology of investing and saving and growing your money is going to be able to figure out where you are financially. Not everybody's in the same boat. Maybe you're 25, maybe you're 35. Everybody's going to be in a different place financially. Sit down and look at your financial situation. So Joe's going to sit down. He's going to look at all his debts he has, maybe some student loans, maybe a car payment, maybe other debts that he has, credit cards. And he's also going to sit down and see what is the money coming in, what are his expenses. This way he can have an idea of where he is financially. After he gets a foundation of where he's at, then he can start planning on how to get to where he's going. The first big thing that you can do with your finances is automate your finances. This way you're going to separate your emotions from your financial decisions. In this way you can be a lot more consistent, you can make better choices because you don't have to make a choice every single time. All you have to do is make a choice in the direction you're going today and set it up and forget about it. So in my case, I was saving about 20% for my retirement accounts, and another 15% from my paycheck went directly into my brokerage account to invest. Because as Joe starts to make a little bit more money, as he starts to feel a little bit more rich, he's going to want to increase his standard of living. He's going to want a nicer car, a nicer apartment, a nicer vacations, and his standard of living will grow with his increased wage. So if you're able to separate that to the point where you can't see that money coming in, you don't really think about it, it's not in your bank account every time you look at it, you're not gonna wanna spend the money that is working for you in the future. That way you don't have to sit there and think, well, do I really wanna invest this $100 or do I wanna go and have some fun on the weekend with this $100? So automate your finances. The second thing Joe can do to just speed up his wealth growth is to watch his net worth, is to look at his financial situation maybe once a month or once every 3 months. In this way, he's gonna see exactly what helps him move towards his goal and exactly the type of things that hold him back. So if Joe starts to develop bad habits like spending too much money on the weekends or going out to parties and paying for everybody's tab at the bar, he's gonna be able to see these things in the numbers that he's looking through. And that's gonna just tell him, hey dude, you gotta shape up. This is hurting your goals. This is not helping you move forward. This is dragging you back. The more Joe is gonna look at his financial journey, at the overall picture of actually knowing where he's at, the more he's gonna be able to move forward. In one study, they found that people who tracked their financial situation in an app were able to save on an average of up to 16% more based on the same incomes. So just the fact that they were able to watch where they were financially and seeing their progress towards a goal was able to help them save 16% more every single month. So track your net worth, track your financial situation. The next thing that Joe can do is to promote financial goals for himself. So he can sit down and figure out what is the next big goal that he wants to reach. And once Joe gets there, he should celebrate. He should do something fun and exciting to be able to celebrate moving forward in his financial journey. Having at least one specific promotional financial goal has been shown to improve savings up to 99%. In one study, for example, there was two groups, an older, well-established group in their 40s and 50s who had a significant amount of money, and a much younger group between 25 and 35 who had limited resources, limited income. In the younger group, the younger folks, if they had one aggressive goal financially set, they were able to just about double the rate of their savings. It was about a 99% increase. The fact that you will set yourself a goal to achieve and start moving towards it, you're twice more likely to save a significant amount of money. Now, similar to goal setting is to have a goal of an emergency fund. Instead of being aggressive in saving or investing, people may be aggressive in trying to get an emergency fund. Now, in that same study, the young people between 25 and 35 who were financially limited, if they had a specific goal of an emergency fund, they were able to increase their savings rate by about 127%. So that's even higher. The next thing I found about psychology and saving actually shocked me. Optimism is great for having a positive outlook on the world. Optimism is great when you're in a relationship. Optimism is great in a lot of different ways. But when it comes to saving money, if you're overly optimistic, that will actually hurt you. Now, this is not saying that you should be doom and gloom and waiting for the world to crash, But if you have a healthy dose of realizing reality can have negative events in the future, you'll plan accordingly. Realizing bad things can happen in the future will help you save and invest that money. If I know that my car could break down and it could cost me $2,000, I'll think about it and put money aside. If I know that my water heater can break and flood my whole house, if I understand these things, I'll plan accordingly. Now, the person who's overly optimistic and thinks everything's going to be great for the next 5 years, no emergencies in 5 years, they're going to get a rough wake-up call. So looking at the future, expect the best, but plan for the worst. This way, you have a cushion in case something bad happens that you can't foresee in the future. So Joe has a basic idea of where he's at, where he's going, how he can get there, and how he can set up his finances so he doesn't mess himself up with his own emotion. Here, I want to talk a little bit about numbers. This part might get a little bit boring, but hang in there because it's actually really worth it. When I read this article, it's really surprised me. So if I'm looking to retire early, I'm probably going to be looking at the 4% rule. The 4% rule means that I need to have a big enough chunk of money to be able to take out 4% every year, and that will allow me not to run out of money. To do this in reverse, all you have to do is figure out the cost of living for a year for yourself and multiply that by 25. That will get you to the number that is your destination number to be able to retire. That's called the 4% rule. So once you get to that number saved and invested, you'll be able to live indefinitely on that amount of money. So let's talk about a couple different examples on what you can expect if you invest at different percentages. So how long will it take Joe to get to that magic number depending on how much he saves every single month? So if Joe saves 5% every single month of his income and invest that money at about 8%, it's going to take him 47 years to be able to get to that magic number. That's a long time, so he has to work his whole career in order to get to that number. Now, if Joe starts to invest 10% of his income, he will get there in about 38 years. That's a little bit better. So by the time he's about 59 years old, just about 60. Now, if Joe invests 30% of his income, he's one of those crazy people. How long will it take him to get to his retirement number? Just 22 years. I know when you're 21 years old, even 20 years seems like an eternity, but that only puts you at about the age of 43, 44. So by the time you're in your mid 40s, you could easily retire if you invest a significant amount of your income. Now, the crazy part is, let's say you're 21, your name is Joe, and you start saving half of your paychecks. And you learn how to house hack, you learn how to invest your money, you learn how to have some passive income on the side, and you figure out a way to not only keep your expenses low, but growing your income. That way you're living on 50% as your income grows. In 14 years, he would be financially independent. That means by the time that Joe is 35 years old, he can be completely free from working. He can pursue his own passions, his own dreams. He can start a nonprofit. He can do whatever it is he wants with his time without having to work. This is why I make these videos. There might be a couple of you guys listening out there that will just get excited enough to start investing, and you realize that that goal that seems far away can actually be way, way closer to you guys. But there needs to be a mindset shift. I need to start to look at myself not as a consumer, but more as somebody who has a goal, and whatever will help me get to that goal, that's what I need to do. To give you guys an example, I'm married, I have a family of 6 kids, and my wife brings in about $800 every month. She's a part-time caregiver. So yes, 6 kids, that's crazy. But in my case, I was able to save over 40% of my income for the last several years. I know that to most people it may seem kind of absurd or crazy, but if you start opening your mind to the idea that it's possible, you can totally change your future. So if seeing any of these numbers is exciting, or if you think that somebody might appreciate this video, give it a thumbs up, pass it on to a friend. As always, I want to show you guys my Roth IRA. Over the last 2 years, I went from about $20,000 in my Roth IRA to sitting right about $82,000. I was up at over $110,000, but that count has been dropping down with the market crashing, and I'm at the same level I was back in September. So as always, thank you guys for watching the video, for spending your time with me. I appreciate it. I wish you guys all well. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. And we'll see you back here. Artie out. Oh, and one more thing. Hit that subscribe button.